and welcome back to the B&B Motorsports channel. Today I will be reviewing a 1974 Pontiac Grand Prix and helping you decide if the Grand Prix is the weekend cruiser for you. I'll be doing a review, a drive, and a brief tour just like last time. And before we begin, I would love to give a shout out to my grandpa Tom for loaning me one of his 13 cars. The 1974 Grand Prix is the third generation of these coupes. This generation only lasted from 1973 to 1977. The Grand Prix competed against coupes like the Buick Regal, the Chevrolet Monte Carlo, and the Oldsmobile Cutlass. Grand Prix's lifespan lasted from 1962 to 2008, when it was succeeded by the Pontiac G8. For more G8 info, check out my last video. As I continue the walk around, I'll get you a look at the motor next. It's time to take a look at this car's 400 cubic inches. Let's pop that heavy hood. All right, let's take a look. This car is an SJ model, which was the upgraded version of the car. It originally came with a 455 engine and a 400 turbo 3-speed automatic transmission. It currently has a 400 cubic inch motor, making 235 horsepower at the flywheel at 4,400 RPMs and 325 pound-foot of torque at 3,200. The 70s saw a significant reduction in horsepower due to new government emissions standards. And if you recall, new motors today talk in liters, whereas motors of old talk in cubic inches. The wheels are a 15x7 honeycomb. They most likely originated on a second generation Firebird. The original stock wheels for this Grand Prix were a simulated 5-spoked wheel. The rear end has a 273 gear ratio. Highway cruising is possible without an overdrive. It's time to discuss my personal pros. So what I found is I really enjoy the two-tone paint and that unique styling from the 70s, as you just don't see many 70s style cars anymore. As for the cons, you saw how big and heavy that hood is to lift up. The car is also very large, so when parking in tight parking spaces, that can be a challenge, as well as these large doors. One final con of mine is these large bumpers. In the 70s, the federal government mandated crash bumpers, which is when these big chrome bumpers with the rubber strip came out. I personally do not like them, though I'm sure people who grew up around them do have a fond place in their heart. After examining the body, a look at the interior may help you to decide if the Grand Prix is the right cruiser for you. Also, say hello to the other part of B&B Motorsports, my father Bradshaw.
How you doing, YouTube?
Interior options included a split bench with a column shift or bucket seats with a console. As you can see, this is bucket seats with a console. The SJ model also came with rally pack gauges, including a tachometer. Let's talk pros. With the car being so large, there is plenty of room for passengers. Another plus is the working AC and the tachometer, which was a rarity for these 70s era cars. Well, as far as cons go, there are several, unfortunately. Sunroof parts are very difficult to find, as well as most other trim pieces. Another con I personally have is the tan interior coupled with the wood grain, as I am not a big wood grain fan, though it is period correct. It's time to take a look at the key. Now this key is much different than many modern keys. I'm sure you noticed there's no key fob. There's simply a ignition key and a door lock and trunk key, as well as this Pontiac symbol right here. Now I'm going to start this car for you guys. If you recall, I mentioned earlier, on a cold start, you may have to pump the gas a few times because this car has a carburetor. Here is the dual exhaust with turbo mufflers. It's time for a drive. Let's go. My first impression of the car is it is long and wide. There certainly is plenty of room for passengers. Acceleration is modest compared to today's standards. There's also quite a bit of play in the steering wheel. With drum brakes in the rear and no ABS, stopping distances are much longer than contemporary vehicles. Well, you've seen the tour and the drive. Let's head back for my final review. Well, you've seen the tour of the car and we've driven it. Now it's time for my final review. Performance, 3.5 out of 10. I would love to rate this higher, however, I do wish that the 455 was still in the car. Upon driving, it is very hard to see in either of the mirrors, so if you have to reverse, it may be a challenge. The accelerations, as I said before, are pretty modest compared to today's standard for vehicles. Aesthetics, 6 out of 10. As I mentioned before, I am not a fan of the interior's wood grain with the tan interior, as well as the big chrome bumpers that were mandated by the federal government. Though I am a fan of the two-tone paint and the big body of the 70s cars. Fun factor, 7.5 out of 10. For a show car, this car would be very fun to just drive a short distance and show off to everyone else. Would I daily driver it? Probably not, but for a weekend cruise, it would be very fun. Practicality, 4 out of 10. Again, as I said before, I would not daily drive this car, but it is perfect for a weekend cruise. So depending on your needs, this car may be what you're looking for, or if you're looking for something to drive to work every day, this is probably not the car for you. Comfort, 8 out of 10. This is the highest rated portion of the car due to the very spacious seats. All of your passengers will be riding very comfortably. Overall experience, 7 out of 10. I can tell you, I had much more fun driving this car than I thought I would. If you're looking for a daily driver, this big boat is probably not for you. But if you're looking for a fun toy that you can drive to the car show on the weekend, this may be the right vehicle for you. Thanks for listening to B&B Motorsports. Make sure you check out my video from last week where I review a 2009 Pontiac G8 GT. Subscribe and make sure you comment down below what you would like to see me review next.